Bible. It tells the story of humanity's fall in a garden. But what if the true origin of evil began long before Adam or Eve took a breath? Before the snake, before the fruit, and before the curse, there was a catastrophe that rocked the very foundations of the cosmos. It wasn't a monster that started the war. It was the most beautiful creature God ever made. This is the story of the first rebellion. We know him as Satan, the devil, the adversary, but he didn't start that way. The scriptures don't describe his origin as a birth of darkness, but as an explosion of light. He was the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. To understand how the ultimate evil entered the world, you have to understand the tragedy of the ultimate good gone wrong. It's a narrative scattered across the prophetic books of Ezekiel and Isaiah, hiding in the poetry of lament. It's a story that theologians have wrestled with for thousands of years because it poses a terrifying question. If a perfect being in a perfect place can become the devil, is anyone truly safe? Today, we are looking at the rise and fall of Lucifer, how the son of the morning became the prince of darkness. To get why this fall was so catastrophic, you have to understand the height from which he fell. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 28, gives us a glimpse into a time before time. The prophet is technically speaking to the king of Tyre, but scholars have long recognized that the language goes far beyond a human king. It speaks to the spiritual power behind that throne. The text describes a being covered in every precious stone: sardius, topaz, diamond, beryl, onyx, jasper, sapphire, emerald, and carbuncle, and gold. This being wasn't just wealthy, he was crafted from the very treasury of heaven. The Bible calls him the anointed cherub who covers. This is crucial. In the architecture of the biblical cosmos, the cherubim are the guardians of God's holiness. They are the ones closest to the throne. This specific angel was on the holy mountain of God. He walked back and forth in the midst of fiery stones. He was the high priest of the angels, the worship leader of heaven. Some interpretations suggest that his very body was designed as an instrument, that the workmanship of his timbrels and pipes was built into him. When he spoke, it was music. When he moved, it was praise. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created, till iniquity was found in you. And that is where the mystery deepens. How does iniquity, sin, appear in a perfect environment? It wasn't an external virus, it was an internal corruption. The prophet Isaiah pulls back the curtain on the internal monologue of this falling star. In Isaiah 14, we see the transition from Lucifer, Hillel ben Sahar, the shining one, to Satan. And it started with a single, dangerous concept: I. The text records 5 specific statements of rebellion. 5 I wills. 1. I will ascend into heaven. 2. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. 3. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation. 4. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. 5. I will be like the Most High. Notice the progression. It wasn't enough to be near God, he wanted to be God. It was an act of cosmic plagiarism. He looked at his own beauty, a beauty that was a gift from the Creator, and he began to claim ownership of it. Ezekiel 28:17 diagnoses the pathology. Your heart was lifted up because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. This is profound. It suggests that pride doesn't just make you arrogant, it makes you stupid. It corrupts wisdom. The moment Lucifer became obsessed with himself, he lost touch with reality. He actually thought a created thing could overthrow the Creator. But he didn't keep this rebellion to himself. Revelation 12 tells us that his tail drew 1/3 of the stars of heaven. He campaigned, he whispered, he traded in lies. Ezekiel says, "By the abundance of your trading, you became filled with violence within." He turned heaven into a political battlefield. He convinced 1/3 of the angelic host that the tyranny of the Most High was unjust and that he offered a better way. And then there was war. It's hard for us to imagine. We think of war as tanks and missiles, but a war between spirits, a war involving beings of pure energy and intellect. Revelation 12:7 simply says, "And war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought." Michael, the archangel whose very name means "who is like God," a direct challenge to Lucifer's pride, led the charge. It wasn't a battle of physical strength, but of truth against lies, authority against anarchy, and the result was total expulsion. Jesus later described the event in Luke 10:18 with a single chilling sentence: "I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven." He was cast out of the mountain of God. The covering cherub was destroyed from the midst of the fiery stones. But here is the strange part, the terrifying part. God didn't unmake him. He didn't snap his fingers and erase Lucifer from existence. Why? It's a question that has haunted believers for centuries. Why allow the devil to exist? Why let him slither into the Garden of Eden? Perhaps because love requires a choice. If God had simply vaporized the opposition immediately, the remaining angels, and later humanity, might have obeyed out of fear, not love. They would have served God because they were terrified of being zapped, not because they trusted his character. By allowing the rebellion to play out, God allowed the universe to see the alternative. He allowed us to see what life looks like separated from the source of life. Lucifer became Satan, the accuser, his beauty twisted into something monstrous, his wisdom corrupted into cunning, and his mission shifted from reflecting God's glory to stealing it. So, thanks to the prophetic visions of Isaiah and Ezekiel and the apocalyptic insight of John, we have the biography of the first rebel. The story of Lucifer isn't just a legend about a monster with a pitchfork. It's a powerful look into the nature of the Bible itself. It shows that Scripture doesn't shy away from the origins of brokenness. It doesn't present a world that is easily explained or safe. It presents a cosmos at war. The story of how the highest angel became the lowest devil is a warning. It validates the experience of anyone who has ever felt the tug of pride, the desire to be the center of their own universe. It proves that proximity to holy things doesn't make you holy. Humility does. The fall of Lucifer reminds us that talent, beauty, and position mean nothing if the heart turns inward. It proves that faith isn't always about ascending to the heights to be like God, but about having the courage to bow down, confident that even in the face of the great dragon, the light has already won. If you want to dive deeper into these ancient mysteries, make sure to like and subscribe. There are many more stories hidden in the text, waiting to be found.